When stress steals your memories, how to get your mind back. The moment you forget what you were saying, it happened again, mid-sentence, mid-thought, gone. The word sat just behind the edge of her tongue, teasing her, invisible. Lena stood there in front of her co-workers, staring at the screen, blinking. "What was I saying again?" she asked, forcing a small laugh to cover the embarrassment. The room stayed polite, quiet. But inside her mind, panic flickered. It wasn't the first time this had happened. Lately, her memory felt like Swiss cheese, holes everywhere. She'd lose her keys, forget names, open the fridge, and stand there blankly, unsure what she came for. And the worst part? The more she tried to remember, the harder it became. At night, she'd lie in bed, scrolling through her phone, eyes tired, brain buzzing. She'd whisper to herself, "What's happening to me? Am I just getting old?" She wasn't. She was stressed, chronically, relentlessly stressed. And it was eating away at her memory. The hidden thief in the brain stress is sneaky. It doesn't just make you feel anxious or tired. It rewires the very circuits your memory depends on. When the brain senses stress, it releases cortisol, a hormone meant to help you survive short-term danger. A high burst of cortisol can heighten alertness and focus. It's why a little stress before an exam or presentation can sharpen the mind. But chronic stress, that's a different story. When cortisol levels stay high for too long, they start to harm the hippocampus, the region responsible for forming and retrieving memories. Think of the hippocampus as your brain's librarian. It takes new experiences, organizes them, and files them away. But when cortisol floods the system day after day, that librarian becomes overworked, overwhelmed, and eventually shuts down sections of the library just to cope. Neurons in the hippocampus start to shrink. Connections weaken. And your memories, both new and old, slip through the cracks. That's what was happening to Lena. Her brain wasn't broken. It was protecting her by diverting resources from thinking to surviving. But in doing so, it was stealing something precious, her clarity. When the brain puts safety before memory, our brains evolved to treat stress as a life or death signal. Thousands of years ago, that was useful. If you saw a tiger, you didn't need to remember where you left your shoes. You needed to run. But the modern brain doesn't know the difference between a tiger and an unpaid bill, an argument or a flood of notifications. To your nervous system, they're all danger. So the stress response fires up. Cortisol rises. Blood diverts away from your higher brain regions and into your limbs, preparing for fight or flight. Your prefrontal cortex, the part of your brain that manages logic, planning and focus, temporarily goes offline. Your hippocampus slows down to save energy. And so, in the middle of daily life, not a tiger, not a jungle, but an office meeting or a grocery line, your brain quietly shuts down memory to protect you. That's why people under stress can forget entire conversations, lose focus mid-task, or feel foggy even after sleeping. It's not weakness, it's wiring. The turning point for Lena, the realization came one morning after she missed an important client call, one she'd been preparing for all week. She'd written it down, even set reminders. But somehow she forgot. She found herself in the bathroom, staring at her reflection, feeling tears sting. Her mind whispered, "Something's wrong with you." But another, quieter voice said, "Maybe something's wrong with the way you're living." That voice would save her. Later that evening, she stumbled upon a podcast where a neuroscientist explained how stress affects memory, and more importantly, how it can be reversed. Her heart raced as she listened, because for the first time she heard hope. The scientist said something that stuck with her. The brain that's been damaged by stress can heal itself. Neuroplasticity means that memory can be rebuilt, one calm day at a time. Lena replayed that line 3 times. How neuroplasticity restores memory. Neuroplasticity, the brain's ability to rewire and reorganize itself, is the key to reclaiming memory. Even after years of chronic stress, the brain can grow new neurons, especially in the hippocampus. This process, called neurogenesis, is fueled by certain conditions: calm, movement, sleep, and novelty. Here's how it works. When cortisol levels drop and the nervous system shifts out of survival mode, the brain begins producing brain-derived neurotrophic factor, BDNF, a kind of fertilizer for neurons. BDNF helps damaged connections heal, supports the growth of new cells, and strengthens communication between regions involved in learning and recall. It's like giving your brain fresh soil and sunlight after years of drought. Every walk outside, every deep breath, every night of good sleep sends a biological signal to the hippocampus. It's safe to grow again. Over time, this rebuilds memory, focus, and even emotional stability. That's not psychology, and that's biology. The small rituals that rebuild memory. Lena started small. No big resolutions, no sudden overhauls. Just one tiny change. A morning walk without her phone. At first it felt pointless. Her thoughts still swirled, her stress still hummed. But slowly something shifted. After a week she noticed her mood felt lighter by mid-morning. After 2 weeks, she could recall names again, small details that had escaped her for months. Movement was changing her mind. Physical activity increases blood flow to the hippocampus and boosts BDNF production, giving neurons the energy to repair, and the rhythm of walking left, right, creates a bilateral stimulation effect that helps integrate memories and calm the nervous system. Soon, she added another ritual, mindful breathing before bed. Instead of scrolling, she sat in the dark and inhaled for 4 counts, exhaled for 6. The extended exhale signals the vagus nerve to activate the parasympathetic system, the body's rest and digest mode. With time, this lowered her baseline cortisol levels. She didn't know it, but her brain was rewiring itself. The science of remembering. Again, within months, measurable changes begin to occur in people who consistently reduce stress. Research from Harvard and Yale shows that mindfulness and aerobic exercise can increase hippocampal volume by up to 2% in a year, reversing years of shrinkage caused by stress. That may sound small, but in brain terms it's enormous. It's like restoring a vital city district that had fallen into decay. This regeneration leads to sharper recall, better focus, and more emotional regulation, all signs that the brain's librarian has returned to work. Lena's co-workers started to notice. She seemed more present, quicker to remember details, more grounded. She smiled more. Her laughter came back, and perhaps most importantly, her inner voice softened. How to reclaim your memory through neuroplasticity. If you've ever felt like stress has stolen your clarity, you can begin rebuilding it today. Here's how: prioritize deep sleep. Memory consolidation happens during deep sleep, especially in stages 3 and 4. Keep your room dark, cool, and free of screens for at least 30 minutes before bed. Move daily, even lightly walks, yoga, or dancing increase BDNF and blood flow to the hippocampus. 20 minutes a day can start to reverse stress-related damage. Breathe to reset cortisol. Try the 4 to 6 breathing pattern. Inhale for 4, exhale for 6. Do it for 3 minutes when you feel foggy or anxious. Limit dopamine overload. Constant scrolling floods the brain with stimulation, making calm states harder to achieve. Create dopamine fasts, short periods where you do nothing stimulating. Embrace novelty. Learn a new skill, language, or instrument. Novelty activates the hippocampus and encourages growth through new synaptic pathways. These are not self-help trends, they're biological resets. Each step you take trains your brain to believe again that the world is safe, calm, and worth remembering. Why emotional memories heal. Last, you might wonder why even after feeling calmer, old emotional wounds resurface. That's because emotional memories, stored partly in the amygdala, don't just vanish. They're reprocessed. Neuroplasticity allows new experiences of safety to overwrite old memories of threat. So when you meditate, journal, or talk through a painful experience, you're not erasing trauma. You're teaching the brain a new association. This memory doesn't mean danger anymore. That's why healing feels slow, because it's literally rewiring danger into peace. And it's why people who have lived through long-term stress often emerge wiser, more compassionate, and more resilient. Their brains have been rebuilt through deliberate calm. The brain's quiet comeback months later, Lena visited her parents for the holidays. They were sitting on the porch sipping tea when her mother said softly, "You seem lighter, sweetheart. Like the old you." Lena smiled, watching the sunset bleed into gold and orange. "I think I just stopped fighting my brain," she said, and started listening to it. She'd realized something profound. Her brain wasn't the enemy. It was her partner, one that had been begging for rest, for safety, for stillness, and when she finally gave it those things, it responded with something better than memory. It gave her clarity. Your brain remembers how to heal stress may take your focus, your sharpness, even your sense of self. But it doesn't take your potential for healing. Every calm breath you take, every gentle walk, every quiet night's sleep, they're all signals to your neurons. Build again. The hippocampus listens. It grows, it rebuilds your story. That's the beauty of neuroplasticity.